Um, Before we came out here, you were quizzing me about the ramifications of the recent Canadian federal election. What do you make of Canada's internal politics right now? Your friend Jason Kenney is, our friend Jason Kenney is the Premier of Alberta. The Liberals are tempted to move further left here in Ottawa. What do you make of the, as a fond observer of the Canadian scene?
Well, I'm a little more than that, so I have to be careful what I say. My sister is a member of the Canadian Senate, and so the first thing I have to say, whatever she says, I agree with it. I tend to, I know I care a lot about Canada. I have my own property here, but I do see it a little bit from an outsider's perspective these days, just because of the way I spend my time. So that you have to, I caveat it. My bottom line on observing Canada is I think Canadians know this. Canada's is a country that with both a tremendously successful society, but also a real vulnerability to political instability, more probably than any other G7 country. It can split on linguistic lines, Quebec versus the English-speaking parts of the country. It can split on regional resource versus non-resource, west versus center. It can, there is a radicalized and indigenous population that has sometimes taken extra constitutional and even violent action against the state, or threats of violence against the state. Managing all of this requires extraordinary tact and delicacy. And that's why Canadian politicians, the successful ones, have tended to be soft-spoken. Because Canada, I sometimes, it's like a bank built on top of a explosive factory, that everyone is having a good time with the proceeds of the bank, but the thing could blow sky high at any minute. And it's just, and so it's important not to take too many risks with Canadian political stability. And I would credit the governments of the period from about 1985 to about 2015 of being very conscious of the need to manage that stability, not always successfully. Brian Mulroney tried too hard and brought about actually, made the problem worse when he was trying to make it better. But if you, if Western Canadians don't feel, if Quebecers don't feel that they are included in the concerns of people at the center, it can be very divisive. And if promises are made to the Indigenous people beyond what the country is able to honor in a realistic way, that also has a backlash. And so I just feel that not just in terms of what it has borrowed, but in other ways, the government, this present government has written a lot of checks that I sincerely hope that Canada has the ability to cash, but that I worry whether it does or not.